Welcome to Elvi Farms and our virtual farm tour. Elvi is located in upstate New York between Rochester and Syracuse. Everything we do is related to the cows, whether it's milking them, feeding them, or cleaning up after them. We milk about 900 cows 3 times a day using a 40-stall milking parlor, 20 stalls on each side. As the cows enter the parlor, their teats are dipped in a sanitizing iodine solution. Then we strip, or hand milk, a few squirts of milk from each teat and wipe them clean with a soft cloth. After this, a milking machine is hung on each cow. Each machine has a pulsating vacuum that imitates a calf's sucking action. A computer program identifies each cow via a transponder bracelet, which downloads each milking through an antenna in the parlor. Individual milk output is measured in pounds and is automatically sent to the computer that keeps track of each cow's production. The milk is then pumped into a reservoir, filtered, chilled in a plate cooler, and pumped into refrigerated tanks. Once a day, a milk truck picks up our milk. The tanks are washed and sanitized after the milk truck comes. The rest of the milking system is washed and sanitized twice a day. Most of a cow's time is spent out in the barns, eating, resting, and sleeping. Our cows are divided into pens based on stage of lactation. After breeding our cows, we milk them until they are about 2 months away from giving birth, also known as calving or freshening. At that point, we stop milking them, drying them off, and move them to the dry cow barn, also known as the hospital barn. Several weeks before their due dates, pregnant cows are moved to the maternity pen, which is bedded daily with fresh, clean straw. They give birth there or in an individual calving stall. We check our dry cows approximately every hour for calves or laboring cows. As soon as possible after birth, each calf has its navel dipped in iodine to prevent infection and is fed its first meal of colostrum. Colostrum is the antibody-rich milk from a cow's first milking after freshening. After being tagged for identification, each calf is moved out to its own individual hutch. The calves live in hutches until they are weaned onto a pellet grain starter. Then they are moved into progressively larger pens as they grow. After they are bred, they move into the maternity pens with the dry cows. We feed our cows a mixture of corn silage, alfalfa hay silage or haylage, and a ground grain mix. This mixture is called a total mixed ration or TMR. Our nutritionist visits weekly and gives us recipes for the rations for each group of cows. We mix them using a mixer wagon with a computerized scale. Most of the ration is comprised of corn silage and haylage, both of which we grow ourselves. Corn silage is the entire corn plant, ears and all, chopped up into small pieces. Haylage is alfalfa that has been cut, partially dried, merged into windrows, and chopped fine. Once chopped, the procedure for making both is the same. The fresh silage is trucked to the bunk, spread out, and packed down. The pile is then covered with plastic and weighted down with tires. It is left to ferment, kind of like beer or wine, for about a month, and then it's ready to feed. To avoid spoilage, we use a silage facer or shaver to remove silage from the pile. Using this tool, we can remove only as much silage as we need for that day's feeding. With all that feed going into the cows, something has to come out. We use automated alley scrapers to move the manure from the alley to a central pit. From there, it is pumped into our methane digester. The solids and liquids are separated, the solids are composted, and the liquids are run through the digester to produce methane. Separating and digesting manure greatly reduces the smell. After the digester, the liquids are stored in a lined lagoon until we can use them as fertilizer. Each spring, we fertilize and work up the fields with a unique spreader that we've designed and built ourselves. The manure is sprayed just in front of a set of plows, which immediately work into the ground. The result? Minimized odor and more work done with a single tractor. The field is then disked and planted. We practice crop rotation between corn, alfalfa, and wheat. Not all of our corn is chopped into silage. Some of it is harvested with a combine as shell corn, run through our grain dryer, and stored in our bins before being ground into cornmeal. This cornmeal is used in the feed. The wheat is also harvested with the combine and sold.